Data centers allow for applications and information storage to be located within servers, whether physical or virtual. While we can't ensure that our data will always be safe, the encrypted information that is stored within a vast network of data centers can help deter even the most advanced of hackers. What exactly is a data center? A data center is a physical location that houses all of the data and applications for a company or organization. This can be as simple as the memory and processing power, the physical data storage, and the networking. The memory and processing power refers to not only the devices that are under and connected to the data center, but also the data center itself. You need to ensure that the memory and processing power of all of the devices within the center's framework are supportive enough to be able to send over any and all data to the server to store. You also need to ensure that the memory and processing power of the server units themselves are powerful enough that they can hold the data without any possible erosion or deletion of important information. The physical data storage again ties into all of that. The physical devices need a good solid state drive on them or some other type of external data storage if there's not enough data storage on the devices themselves, whether that's through a floppy disk, a flash drive, or SD cards. The devices also can offload the data to the cloud or to the servers themselves. Networking also is a major key component. As we know, our information does not stay in one main server. Our information is offshore to multiple servers, whether that's for fail-safe reasons or because our information has been pirated to these other servers. Infrastructure has shifted from traditional on-premises physical servers to virtual networks that support application and workloads across pools of physical infrastructure and into a multi-cloud environment. This was from the Cisco resource I've been using. This is one of the many. We need to understand as a whole that our information is not just in one location. Our information's not just on our computers, or in iCloud, or in Google Drive. Our information is abroad. Some of these are due to instances that I'll get into later about our information not being as secure as we had once hoped. What does a data center need? A data center includes a lot of technology pieces that I won't go into specifically, but the main ones we need are routers and switches, firewalls, power subsystems and backup generators, the cooling systems and fire suppression. The routers are mainly for the servers themselves, but also for us to transfer our data from our physical devices to the data center themselves, but also for the data centers to transfer the data to other data centers. The switches are fail-safes for in case there is an issue in which our information is being hacked into. We can quickly flip a switch and send it to other backup servers. Some are automatic, in which as soon as the servers notice that something a little fishy is going on, they'll go ahead and send it without you even having to do anything before the hacker would even be able to get the information. Firewalls, again, security protocols, basically. Power subsystems, backup generators, those are basically for fail-safes in case the power goes out. The cooling systems, obviously with all those electronic components, they're going to get overheated, so you're going to need to ensure that the temperature is being regulated appropriately for the amount of servers that are in that particular room. Fire suppression, again, in case temperature gets out of control, a fire will set ablaze, so you need some type of way to contain that fire and possibly, completely get rid of the fire. There will, of course, be some damage, but hopefully you can contain it. Ethernet cables definitely are something you're also going to want to ensure, just to ensure that you have a direct connection to from the devices to the server room and the particular units. You want to make sure that you're not connecting to, bad Wi-Fi or unsecure Wi-Fi, things like that. This site actually contains a lot of really cool data center virtual tours. I was looking through this one in particular, and it went through not only just the data server room, but all of the rooms contained within the CenturyLink Chicago location. It shows you how it all operates using the little red eye icons you see in the middle of the screen there. You can click those and read more information about what each particular thing does and why it's important, things like that. So how do they operate? Basically, there's 3 things that we want to understand. There's the firewall protection, which, like I said, it prevents hackers. There's a couple of security, that's the main security protocol it has. And then they're also for delivery assurance, basically to ensure that our information is as safe as possible. So there's automatic failover. And there's also balance loading. So automatic failover refers to the ability for applications and information to be sent to a backup server in case the main server or the server it's trying to be sent to is hacked, or if the server is undergoing maintenance. I'm sure a lot of you guys have experienced that with your internet, for example. Your internet is offloaded into multiple different servers, and if the server that you're using is undergoing maintenance, your internet goes out. Load balancing is attributed to the servers being appropriately distributed. So it distributes any of the incoming network's traffic to many different servers. So it's like a server pool or a server farm. There are 4 main types of data centers. There's the enterprise data center. There's the managed services data center. There's the colocation data center. And there's the cloud data center. The enterprise data center just means that the company stores its own data in its own particular location. Usually it's within its same building. So schools, for example, are a good example of that one. Managed services data centers, those are third-party management centers. So that means that the company itself doesn't store the data on its own physical location. It sends it to a alternative site, an alternative server. So it's an offshored storage system. Colocation data centers are places in which the data center itself is a host. So it's not used for the company or organization it's within. So other companies can end up using and kind of like renting out that data center. That way the company doesn't have to buy its own or make its own data center. It can kind of like rent it out, as I said. The cloud data centers are basically just off-premises ones that are managed by the company itself, but they're just not on site. The major difference between that one and the managed services is the managed services, as it states, is it's managed by another company, another party. As you can guess, the environmental impact is pretty detrimental. Not now, but it will be in the future. Data centers use an estimated 200 terawatt hours each year. While that is only 0.3% of the overall carbon emissions, it's expected that in a decade's time it will exceed to 20%. Our electronic devices only use 2%. This is a key thing that we need to keep in mind, though, because we need to find reusable and renewable energy sources, and also reduce, reuse, recycle with our device production. So, Apple, for example, is looking into ways in which they can use materials that will decompose in a much shorter time period, and that way they're not sitting in landfills. It would decompose and help the earth. They are also trying to find ways in which you can use things like solar panels, things like that, to help supply the power for your server rooms. So why is a data center important? First of all, I want to really clarify and kind of ensure it's understood that our data isn't stored only in one location. Our data can also be sold. There have been data breaches in which our information was either sold to another party, or a hacker gained our information and sold it on the dark webs for, obviously, money. This is why we need to ensure that there's a lot of safety procedures and protocols being involved in this. So while our information is sometimes stored in the main server, understand that the data center that is not the only one that the company has. There are many, many, many servers involved within the data center network that your organization is a part of. This is for safety procedures, for cases in which maybe a hacker wants to gain information on medical records for a particular region to find someone. If they do that, then the healthcare organization wouldn't have all of the data there. Some, particularly my dad, he doesn't work in a healthcare program, but his organization, what they do is, as soon as information is received, they offshore it immediately to multiple different servers. That way, if something were to happen, the hacker gets no information from my dad's organization. They don't know where the information is. They could probably track it through the multiple kind of networked flowchart-like aspects of the information being breached off and networked and branched into many different directions, but most won't take the time to do that. And as the world is changing, we need to understand that there are a lot of safety procedures that need to be involved within this. So, some companies, Apple, for example, they have a file vault that is already installed on every single MacBook. I'm not sure about the iOS devices like the iPad, the iPhone, the iPod, things like that. I'm not sure about those, but I know the MacBook, for example, has the file vault, which it encrypts all of your data. So if by some chance a hacker was able to get into your computer or your device, the information's encrypted, so the hacker would have to do quite a bit of work to get into it. And by that point, you'd already know, so you can go ahead and change all your data. So yeah. In 2019, for the first time, enterprises spent more annually on cloud infrastructure services than they did on physical data center hardware, and more than half of servers sold went into cloud providers' data centers. This is from Network World, one of my other resources. So to clarify, we need to understand that there are many fail-safes in place for data centers, and that no one is safe from being hacked. But with the ability for our information to be put in multiple locations, we are a little bit closer to ensuring that our information stays with the correct people.